What's up everyone, welcome to another video. This is actually a highly requested one. A lot of people would commonly ask me what's the best training split for building the most muscle possible. And you're going to find out here the answer is a bit nuanced and it depends on how much experience you have training in the gym as well as it being down to your personal preference. So there is no real concrete answer to this question. There's hundreds of different splits I suppose you could follow out there, all with varying amounts of research done on them. And my interpretation of a lot of the research and literature done around this topic is that it doesn't matter too much exactly what split you're following, so long as things like the intensity, the frequency, the volume kind of remains consistent. Obviously, if you're looking at building the most muscle possible, the best examples to look at is famous bodybuilders, and a lot of them seem to swear by different splits. There's people out there who swear by the bro split, an upper lower split, full body, legs push pull, and the list goes on. But as I said before, which one of these that you're going to go with for yourself is going to depend a lot on your level of experience of training. If you're a complete beginner to training, hear me out for a sec, you don't need that much volume in order to see results. You've gone from doing little to no resistance training before, even you doing a little bit of resistance training constitutes progress for you, which means that you're going to see results from that. The main thing that results will always stem from when it comes to building muscle is just progression within your training. And during them 4-6 months of proper committed training, your progression should come by pretty easy. Your focus early on in your lifting career should always be centered around the compound exercises. The definition of a compound exercise is it hits 2 or more muscle groups with the same exercise. So a good example of a compound exercise is the bench press, which is primarily going to work your chest and your triceps, but obviously a little bit of shoulders as well and tiny bit of back and other things. A squat, especially a barbell back squat, is going to work your core and your lower back as well as pretty much everything from the waist down. Obviously mainly quads you're going to work with them, a little bit of hamstrings too and some glutes as well. So there are 2 good examples of compound exercises, whereas an isolation exercise is one that only works one muscle group at a time. So take a bicep curl as an example. That's going to work pretty much just your biceps, it has it in the name, because you're just hitting that one function with the bicep curl, which is elbow flexion. So going back to it, you should definitely focus on the compound exercises in your 4-6 months of proper training, and volume wise I'd say train about 3 times a week. Any more than that is a little bit overkill and unnecessary. You definitely don't need any more than 3 days a week to see good results. Again, the main thing it comes down to is progression within your training and getting stronger, building strength over time. And in my opinion, if you're training 3 days a week, full body works best here. As well as you getting sufficient volume in your training and hopefully progressing and getting stronger, as I mentioned before, your frequency is also good as well. You're hitting each muscle group 3 times a week. And because you're not doing too much volume per session, hitting the muscles 3 times a week is no problem. Just make sure if you're following this split, try and break them up across the week. So try not to train back-to-back days. You might do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever it may be. Just try and split them across. When you've been going a while then, and maybe you're an intermediate lifter now and you've gone beyond that kind of 6-month mark, you've seen some good progress on the compound exercises that we were talking about earlier, but you're beginning to plateau a little bit and the strength gains aren't coming by as easily as they were when you first started. When you're hitting this little bit of a plateau with your strength gain, this is when you can start thinking about increasing that volume and including a little bit more isolation work. So here you'll be boosting it up from going from 3 days a week up to 4 days a week. And I think if you're training 4 days a week, upper lower is a good way to split it up. So you're going to have 2 upper body days during the week and you're going to have 2 lower body days during the week. And here obviously because you're doing 4 days training now instead of 3, your overall volume across the week will increase despite a drop in the frequency. So you're only training 2 days a week now for each muscle group, which when you're hitting a bit more volume, you will need to drop that frequency a little bit to let your muscles recover properly. Remember, when you recover is when you actually grow. So training 4 days a week now, and as I said before, you can start to introduce some new exercises, some more isolation work. So there your chest flies, your bicep curls, your dumbbell lateral raises for shoulders, all that type of stuff. And when it comes to the best split for more advanced lifters who've been maybe training over a year at this stage, I think the more advanced you're getting, it comes more and more down to personal preference, because there's a good few splits you can follow at 5 or 6 days a week that in my opinion aren't going to differ too much from one another. So advanced lifters might train 5 or 6 days a week with 1 or 2 rest days. As I mentioned before, when you hit a serious plateau doing 4 days a week now, you can increase that volume that little bit more up to, as I said, 5 or 6 days a week. And you might want to change from your upper lower into something that's maybe going to break the week down into 3 separate days, each of which you can do 1 to 2 times a week. The 2 most popular splits would probably be legs push pull. So push is chest, shoulders and triceps, and pull is back and biceps. So you'd have a push day and a pull day separately, 2 separate upper body days. The other one then is similar, it's just breaking down the upper body days a little bit differently. So you've got chest and back being trained together, as well as shoulders and arms. And then obviously you have your leg day on top of that as well. They'd probably be the 2 most popular splits when someone is advanced and they're training 5 or 6 days a week. So yeah, again, there's more volume per muscle group in each workout. And the frequency should probably stay the same here as it does when you're doing an upper lower split. In other words, I think you should still train each body part 2 times a week, even though you're increasing that volume per workout. What I do is I'll usually train 5 days a week, and I'll alternate it. So I might go legs, push, pull, legs, and then when it goes over into the following week, I'll start off with push and pull. So I'm not doing the same workouts on the same exact day of the week every single week. I'm just kind of alternating my training days. If you're just training a muscle group only 1 day a week, no matter how much volume you're doing and how much you're smashing that, you're going to be leaving gains on the table if you're not training twice a week, because your muscles are usually going to be fully recovered 3 to 4 days after a session. And if you're not training for an extra 3 or 4 days on top of that, then I think you're leaving some gains on the table in them in between days. And that's it for the video. As always, if you have any questions, just shoot them over, and I'll see you in the next one.